Hi students, welcome to lesson number 14, Perspectives on the Study of Caste System. Part B. Introduction. Caste is a form of social stratification which is unique to India. Caste system is a closed system of stratification which has existed for more than 3000 years and its exact origin is still not known. Caste is considered as both a cultural and structural phenomena. Culturally, it is a system of value, beliefs and practices associated with a particular strata. Herbert Risley studied caste from a racial perspective. Nesfield gave a theory of caste based on occupation. Scholars like G.S. Gurye have understood it in cultural terms. Structurally, it refers to a specific pattern of interrelations along with interactions among the various castes on the basis of various disabilities and restriction. Structural approach also studies actual power relations between caste groups and inequalities thereof. Caste is also viewed from two broad perspectives, attributional and interactional perspectives. Attributes are considered as inherent inalienable qualities associated with the caste system. For example, Bogle used this perspective to focus on three key features of caste. Interactional approach takes into account how castes are actually ranked with respect to one another. In a local empirical context, though it also mentions attributes, but its prime focus is on interactions. Bethele is one such sociologist who subscribed to this view. Now let us discuss about the objectives of this lesson. The main objectives of this lesson are: number one, to discuss about the Louis Dumoux's perspective on the caste system. Number two, to discuss about the Henri Bethele's perspective on the caste system. Now let us discuss the Louis Dumoux's perspective on caste system. French sociologist Louis Dumous, in his seminal work Homo Hierarchicus, Caste System and its Implication, synthesized macro perspective of Gurye with micro perspective of empirical studies, combining text with context. His theory of caste hierarchy locates its basis in pollution and purity distinction, and it is a special type of inequality according to him. He borrowed theoretical framework from Levi-Strauss, which calls for identification of binary opposites, and he applied it in Indian context as caste is about opposition of pure and impure. He was also deeply influenced by Bogle's cultural explanation of caste and his ideas that division of labor in caste system is not on economic basis but on cultural basis and hence is not exploitative. Bogle further argues that position of every other caste is relative to Brahmins and these castes evaluate themselves taking the position of Brahmins as reference, and every caste is concerned with its boundary maintenance. He condensed the three core features of Bogle into one all-encompassing principle of caste as an ideology of separation of pure and impure. He views caste from an ideological perspective and not just as an empirical reality. Louis Dumont constructed a textually informed image of caste, which according to him is a combination of ideological and structuralist approach with dual focus on ideology as well as structure. According to him, caste plays an integrative role in Indian society and is distinctive of India. He views caste system in terms of ideas and values. That means caste system is an ideology peculiar to Indian society. Ideology of Indian society is in binary opposition with Western ideology. Modern against tradition, holism against individualism, hierarchy against equality, purity against pollution, and status against power. Dumont emphasized on ideology because it is also reflected through ancient texts. According to Dumont, caste hierarchy is a peculiar feature of Indian society and there cannot be any cross-cultural comparisons of the caste system. He further says that hierarchy is of status and hence is independent of power. According to him, even kings were subordinate to priests. This hierarchy and hence separation of pure and impure is evident in other fields of Hindu life as well. Jajmani as an economic system is also dominated by hierarchy and not principles of economics. Similarly, aspects of civil life such as marriage, eating and socialization are governed by hierarchy. Louis Dumont in his Homo Hierarchicus, the caste system and its implication, conceptualized caste as opposition of pure and impure. Three elements are central to his analysis. One is division of labor on the basis of pure and impure. Number two, superiority of pure over impure. Number three, the separation of the two. These unique core principles of caste like hierarchy, according to Dumont, are observed in scriptural formulation as well as in the everyday life of all Hindus. He identified a number of pure and impure practices which are attached with notions of purity and impurity. Endogamy, cleanliness, vegetarianism are considered pure and superior. Accordingly, impure occupations are separated from the class of sacred and pure occupations. Pure and impure are attached to not only occupation but also to the entire structure of ideas. The interactional approach to caste as used by Bethille draws attention to the structural aspect as opposed to attributional or ritual or cultural one. However, for an institution like caste, the ideology supporting it is of critical importance for proper understanding of caste and the identity politics of today. According to Dumo, caste is a set of relationships of economic, political and kinship systems sustained by certain values which are mostly religious in nature. Dumo gives primacy to values, culture and tradition over and above the secular markers of Indian society. In the Indian context, Dumo has made an incisive statement against the use of the universal stratification model for caste in his Homo hierarchicus concept, and he has attracted attention to the ideological approach once again. According to him, caste is not a form of stratification but a special form of inequality and hierarchy, is the central tenet of this system. According to him, in the Indian context, opposition of equality is hierarchy. Dumo defines hierarchy as the principle by which the elements of a whole are ranked in relation to the whole. His concept of Homo hierarchicus has built up a model of Indian civilization based on non-competitive ritual hierarchical system. In urging the relevance of the principle of hierarchy, Dumo notes how alien it is to the modern mentality. Modern man's ideology is decidedly egalitarian and individualistic, diametrically opposite to a hierarchical and collectivist one. According to him, principle of purity and pollution is universal in Indian society irrespective of region and class. He rejects Srinivas' idea that caste hierarchy has both ritual and secular streams. Ritual hierarchy always dominates over secular status. Division of labor is culturally defined and not by economic needs. He also analyzed caste in changing times, and according to him, the overall framework has not changed. There is a change in society and not of society, declares Dumo. One significant change that has taken place is that traditional interdependence has been replaced by competing interests, which he termed as substantialization of caste. Now let us discuss the Andre Bethille's perspective on caste system. Andre Bethille is a contemporary of Dumo, and both have used relatively different approaches to caste. While Dumo's approach is rooted in a culturally informed imagery of caste, on the other hand, understanding of Bethille is diffusive and he adopts an interactional approach rather than a unidimensional approach to describe caste. He started his analysis of caste from the empirical study of the village of Sripuram in Tanjore district of Tamil Nadu. Sripuram, a village in Tanjore district, which he also explained in his book Caste, Class and power, changing patterns of stratification in a Tanjore village. He also wrote many other essays and books like Inequalities Among Men, Social and Cultural Reproduction of Caste, Kinship and Occupation in India, and The Backward Classes in Contemporary India. While Gurye and Dumo focused only on ideological and ritual aspect of caste, Bethile casts his net wider to understand the Indian society and adopts a Trinitarian approach of Weber. According to him, along with caste, one should also study kinship, class and power as well. So, according to him, structural aspects of caste, mainly economic and political dimensions, have remained underestimated by the other thinkers. He advocates studying of relations between upper caste and lower caste, between land owning and landless caste, between judgman and commune, and these should be studied from a structural perspective by using universal stratification as a general phenomena. His analysis is also useful in showing that empirical reality of caste is remarkably different from the cultural ideal type of caste. His multidimensional view renders a better view of society as a whole and caste in relation to other social dimensions. For example, he concludes that kinship also played an important role, as individuals often choose the occupation of their parents. This influence of kinship is evident in industry, cinema and politics as well. So, his focus is not on hierarchy of caste alone, but is also on stratification in general. His understanding of caste is reflexive and it doesn't take a stereotypical approach. In Sripuram, it were not only Brahmins that maintained distance from other castes, but Adi Dravidians, the so-called depressed classes, also avoided mixing with Brahmins, as they saw doing so will attract misfortune. It rejects the view of Gurye, Jumo and others who saw caste as a uniform phenomena with implicit superiority of Brahmins. Further, lower castes were equally concerned about boundary maintenance and were less keen on Sanskritization. He also noticed that subcastes, even among Brahmins, have unequal relations. For example, Iyengar Brahmins deem themselves ritually the purest. He observes that as education becomes open, the Dravidians too are able to place themselves in white-collar jobs. Within the village also, land had come into market and Brahmins have sold their land in many instances and Adi Dravidians have bought in other instances. As land comes in the open market, the productive organization of village tended to be free from the structure of caste. Due to these factors, power structure in villages also changes. Caste is now not the only determinant of status and power. According to Bethille, shift from traditional occupation also impacted social standing of caste groups. Most Brahmins are now either in government jobs or in agriculture. This has also impacted the relations of Brahmins with other castes. According to him, interrelation between caste, class and power is not as harmonious as it was before, which is attributed to factors like growth of education, secularization of society and occupations, and also migration, politics and democracy. However, despite these changes in the secular realm of the Indian society and their impact on the caste identity, caste dimension still remains, and India has gone for only selective modernization and not complete modernization, as explained by Yogendra Singh. At the same time, it has also not remained totally traditional, as Dumo had put it. Andre Bethille observes that power has shifted from one dominant caste to another, and it has diverged from the caste structure itself and has come to be located in more differentiated structures such as panchayats and political parties. Caste system has been analyzed by using Indological perspective, structural functional perspective and subaltern perspective, etc. The sociologists like G.S. Gurye, M.N. Srinivas, Louis Dumo, Andre Bethille have contributed for the sociological understanding of the caste system.